Alright, everybody, y'all know who it is, Metro Meta, and
at one Marcus Flowers.
And we'd like to thank you for watching and listening to our content. We'd like to thank you even more if you, leave a like, a comment.
Subscribe, definitely subscribe. We need that. Subscribe, subscription.
Hey, don't forget to share with all your friends and tell us how you feel.
And tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend that you got it from 26 and Glencoe Media Network.
Keep it real.
What's up, everybody? How y'all doing? Y'all know who it is, Metro Meta, he who shall not be named, he who stands above all else, he who will rise above, and I am here with
Marcus Flowers, aka Flo, aka Flo's my hero, and we are here for another edition of Dust Off the Cartridge, Volume 2, Episode 20. Before we really get in, Meta, how are you feeling? How you feeling, man?
Pretty good. It's early, a little earlier than we usually record.
Yeah, I decided since we're in quarantine, we might as well make the best use of our time. And there's no better time than to record. So just recording and trying to be proactive and trying to be a step ahead of the competition, that's something we all strive to do. So I just figured, hey, let's just get to it. Let's start recording. Let's record early. Let's record a bunch of podcasts so we can schedule out and things like that.
All right. So when this dropping?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Don't say the date.
All right. So happy day, everybody. Let's get started with this is Dust Off the Cartridge, Volume 2, Episode 20. Let's get right into it. What are you playing, Marcus?
So what I'm mainly playing right now is Pokemon. I'm playing Pokemon Shield, and I'm actually doing a lot of shiny training. And
so
trying to
how
get
is
more
that?
shiny.
Because I know I don't do shiny training because it's awful. But how are you catching that?
I actually like it. I enjoy it just because when it comes to just like the Pokemon, there's only so much story you can have, and once you catch all the Pokemon, that's basically it. And so like the next challenge, the way I'm challenging myself as just like a trainer is training shinies and building different competitive teams. So one way that's the main way how I am just trying to separate myself and go to the next level, just because of course like with the pandemic going on, there's not a lot of competitions going on, so it's just making sure that my roster, that my Pokemon are straight.
Oops, my bad, I was trying to turn my switch off. So I don't do a lot of shiny hunting. I do a lot of EV training, which I find is interesting. But mainly what I'm playing now is I just got Ghost of Tsushima.
Right.
Tsushima, so we're going to play that. We'll talk about that a little bit more. I finished the DLC, and I went back and played a little bit of Xenoblade Chronicles 2, just because once I finish Ghost of Tsushima, if Fairy Tail is bad, I'll probably pick up Xenoblade Definitive Edition, play through that. That's gonna be long.
Right. I also I saw you playing the Yu-Gi-Oh game. I saw you pick that back up. How's that going for you?
That game is hard.
Yeah.
I swear to gosh.
Right.
There are so many times I'm sitting there while I'll have a card, like a trap card that I want to use to keep myself safe.
Right.
And it just doesn't activate.
So I really enjoyed that Yu-Gi-Oh game. It was dope until until they got to the 5D series.
See, I like 5D.
Just because when it came to 5D, I was like, wait, this isn't the normal rules. And then you have like the tuners and the non-tuners. And so I started watching 5D to try to get more background information, and maybe I'm missing something. But that didn't help me either. So I'm just like, all right, I'm basically lost in this. But I was doing good up until 5D. And once I got to 5D, I was like, I don't know.
Nah, I swear to gosh, there's so many times I'll have a trap card down, and the game just feels like, oh, I forgot you have that trap card. I'm like, if you had given me that trap card, I would have won this match.
Right. And also, I'm still going through Streets of Rage. And if you ever get the chance to play it, it's really a straightforward game. But I'm trying to like savor it. So, but it's really good. It really feels like the one from the '90s. So it's really dope. I've really been enjoying that. My favorite character has been Blaze. So yeah, that's main. Oh, of course, like 2K and stuff. Trying to prep for the new releases that are coming out. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But let's just get right to it. First of all, The Last of Us 2 debacle.
You put that in the wrong. You used the wrong account for that.
The Last of Us 2 debacle. What's going on here?
Did you see what happened with The Last of Us?
So I, like with all games, of course it got like review bombed, and people were not liking the female protagonist.
This is what happened. Right. So
Okay.
Last of Us is considered one of the greatest games
Right.
ever. It's really popular game. And people really liked it because of certain characters, Joel and Ellie, which from what I've seen of the game and the story, Joel and Ellie seem like bad people.
Right.
Like, in general, they seem like bad people. And so, for me, as I was watching and listening to this new division, what happened was this. So, people originally found a leak. There was a leak of the story of The Last of Us. We're not going to talk about what the leak is because, you know, people might not have seen it or whatever. But there was a leak about the story, and they found out that certain things happened to Joel and Ellie that they weren't excited about, and that there was this new character in the game that you were going to be playing as, and people didn't want to play as them, even though, you know, you don't know them.
Right.
And so that just
Right.
started full-on hate for the plot, and then it came out that there was like a transgender character in the game, and people were already on the fence because Ellie was perceived as gay. I remember I was having one conversation with some guy on Twitter, and he was like, I don't think there would be gay people in the apocalypse. Like, he said that to me.
Right.
He
That's
said,
weird. That's just like...
he was like all of a sudden the apocalypse hits and people are gonna give up their preferences. So that was going on, and so it basically just started a whole hate vacuum in it. And then reviews came out, and people who reviewed it liked it, except for like a few people. Like, one person who didn't like it was Skill Up, but Skill Up, to me, I don't know if you know him, but he's very much like the just our gamer YouTuber. Like, he's
Right.
he's not a bad person, but he's like very much the popular YouTuber. Some of his videos are good. His layman work is really good because they're pretty funny with their video clips. But he's so like, I wouldn't say patronizing, but he plays the middle so much.
Okay.
And so he had a negative review on it. And that just sort of led to a bunch of people thinking that Sony paid off reviewers, which is crazy. And so at the end of the day, I feel like it just started more of a hate vacuum in it. So much so that now Metacritic requires, I think it's like 24 hours before anyone can review a game.
Right. Yeah.
Because
the Metacritic,
so much.
and also when it just comes to like the current times that we're in, if you're still looking at the Metacritic to give you advice about what games to play and what not to play, then you probably shouldn't be playing that game anyway. Because all Metacritic really does is just give you a reason not to play the game. And just like from my personal experience when it comes to video games, I don't listen to reviews because I feel like listening to the reviews is going to taint my experience of the gameplay. So it's like, if you say, oh, well, it's not even with the spoilers, but it's just like, okay, this is bad, the missions aren't that good. So it's like, I'm gonna be playing, I'm gonna just hit that, oh, this mission probably isn't that good, when in reality it probably is that good.
Well, for me, I think I use reviews mostly to see if like a game is completely broken and awful, because we do have a lot of those. But I think gamers in general have this problem, and there's just this weird fixation on every game has to be perfect.
Right.
Every game has to be game of the year. If a game's landing somewhere in the 80s, it's just not worth buying or playing or talking about. And honestly, I find it kind of weird because we're not like that with any other thing. Like, people don't say, oh, this movie is mediocre, and everyone says, okay, we'll throw away the whole movie. Like, people like middle-of-the-road movies, but with games, it just seems like people have such a fixation on the perfect, most hyped game, like Cyberpunk and stuff like that. And so I think that plays a lot into it. and just a lot into what's going on in general.
Sure.
And then I think Naughty Dog has a large base of people who don't like them. They call their games movie games. And so they're always ready to just attack them for no reason.
True.
Alright, but moving on to our next topic. So the Army. Both the Army,
all
Navy,
branches of the military.
All branches of the military have been getting more involved in esports for recruitment.
Well, this isn't actually really that surprising just because if you've been watching the Call of Duty League, one of their largest sponsors is the U.S. military.
That is not
so
surprising.
It's not surprising, but it's not the U.S. Army getting into esports. It's the U.S. Army using online gaming to recruit teens. So gamers with the Army, Navy, and Air Force are spending hours on Twitch with children as young as 13. And of course, you know, when it comes to just like the military and recruitment, you really can't get recruited until you turn 18, or at least until your high school. And what this is really, and this really isn't surprising just because of the toxicity online of the online gaming community. And being like, if you've ever played Call of Duty, you know how toxic being online can be. And so the U.S. military being online and having like their own gamers using basically recruiters disguised as gamers, this isn't surprising, but it should be alarming because it is breeding incels basically to get into the Navy. And so when you're mixing misogyny, racism, homophobia, all of that, and you throw in the U.S. military, you're basically starting your own incel group, which is already a problem in the military, and it's only going to get bigger. And finally seeing that this is out now, this isn't surprising. How do you feel about it?
Honestly, it's kind of gross to me.
Right.
I see this in three respects. The first respect is the military saying, "Oh, these are the perfect people for us to be recruiting," and I think that comes partly towards technology. As we're going into the future, there is a big focus on just gamers in general, and there is the ideal of, okay, will gamers be turned into our next soldiers?
Right.
I remember a couple years back, it might have been like a bomb machine or like a U.S. drone, and the military was having problems with people in the military being able to control it because it was so difficult. And their solution to that was, we'll just use an Xbox controller.
Right.
And I think there is that ethics ideal of, are we going to turn the gamers of today into the mercenaries of tomorrow?
And it's crazy. It's been happening for years, but the slow politicalization of gaming, where it's no longer a free space where everybody can like blend and meet from people from different backgrounds to play the same game. It's going to be, oh, you're against the military, you're against America. Oh, you don't want to fight alongside the American side in Call of Duty. Oh, I'm looking at you crazy. And so it's just like that, and it's building and it's already building on a community that struggles when it comes to safety and respectfulness and sportsmanship.
It's and you're talking about, like, again, this is the gaming community. This is the same community where you put a black person in the game and they're like, oh, now it's political.
Right.
And so it's going to be a huge problem, I think, in the future. And they've already been caught on ethics violations. I remember I saw a story this week where the military has been banned from running giveaways because their giveaway site was redirecting to an Army recruitment site.
Right.
So it's just, I don't know. There's got to be a better way to recruit our military soldiers. Is it really that hard? Is the U.S. that pressed? I feel like we're not.
We're not. But
I feel like it shouldn't be that much of a problem. All right, let's go to the Ubi Forward. Now, Marcus, did you watch this?
So I did not get a chance to look at the Ubisoft conference just because Ubisoft was just in a whole lot of drama just the past few weeks when it came to like misogyny and racism, and I think their creative director.
We're gonna talk about that after this.
Okay.
After this, just like Ubisoft.
Okay.
But they announced several things, several projects. Most of it was stuff we knew about, though.
Okay, yeah.
That was the thing. People felt this was a very small Ubisoft because they didn't get a Splinter Cell, they didn't get a Prince of Persia. They did say there might be another one later on, but like there was no project in there that people didn't know about. The only thing I think they could have done to like make people be excited was either a new Splinter Cell or I'm still waiting on the date for Beyond Good and Evil 2, which I think definitely is going to be a next-gen only title.
Right.
I think that has been quietly delayed to next-gen, and Ubisoft is just not going to talk about it. But they did announce Watch Dogs Legion, which I've been excited about since...
Really? Are you going to play it? Oh.
Yeah, I've been excited about Watch Dogs Legion since they announced it. I bought Watch Dogs 2 on PS4 and I got the free version, and I really liked it, and I really liked the vibe. It's just a really fun GTA, and honestly, if I'm being real out here, I think Watch Dogs Legion is closer to what people believe Cyberpunk 2077 is than what Cyberpunk actually is, just in general. But for those of you guys who don't know, Watch Dogs is, of course, it's a series mired in controversy. Yeah. But Ubisoft has been doing a lot to try to build a brand. Like the first game, it was said it didn't... Well, the first game, they tried to sell it on graphics, and it didn't have the best graphics. And then it was also too, like, moody, and people didn't like that. So the second game, they announced... They announced that, second game, they put in Marcus as the new protagonist, and it was way more fun, way more exciting. Right. I really liked it. And so for this game, I feel like they said, okay, second game did better. Let's see if we can take this up a notch. And they went with the mad lad ideal of turning every NPC into someone you can play. Which has got to be one of the most craziest ideals, and I was excited for this game.
And it's crazy if it truly works out positively for them.
And it's looking like it's working. Do you think
that what they're setting up Watchdog Legions to do, to be a big enough brand so that they can separate from Ubisoft?
What do you mean separate?
So it's not separate, but like, you know how like Call of Duty is its own brand.
I don't think Watch Dogs is ever going to be that big.
Okay.
I don't think as a series it has that power, especially because Ubisoft has Assassin's Creed, which is their brand.
Right.
But honestly, I feel like if this works out, it could be a new genre of game, which I'm down for. And this was one of the games that Ubisoft delayed so that it could get better, more polish. And from the previews we've seen, they released a lot of previews on this. They got it in a lot of YouTubers' hands. It got that polish. One thing I noticed, someone pointed out, was originally when they announced it, and they said, okay, you can play as everybody. Every person had different, like, stat increases. It was small stuff like, oh, this person's better at melee. This person does more damage to drones. It was those small things. But now in these new shunt ones, they revamped that whole system, and they gave everybody, like, a perk system. Like, there's a spy character. He has a spy mobile, and he has that. And it's honestly, it's leaning way more towards sci-fi than I think they originally started.
Yeah. And I think with it leaning to sci-fi, it'll just get bigger from there.
It's so good.
And with leaning into sci-fi, they'll even have the option to go back to what it originally was. From what I've seen so far, and I watched a lot of previews of this, I'm really excited about it. They had a bee character that controlled bees. It was super good. I'm excited for Watch Dogs Legion. After that, they announced Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Oh. And Assassin's Creed Valhalla put down the gauntlet. They put themselves 2 days before Cyberpunk 2077. Right.
That's a death wish in the game as far as gamers were concerned.
I think so as well. But if they feel that, if Ubisoft is confident that Assassin's Creed Valhalla will do that well, I mean, I guess go for it. But I don't think, just from what I've seen of Valhalla, it hasn't really impressed me as a gamer.
From what I will say with Assassin's Creed Valhalla, I think it's going to be at least as good as Odyssey was. And I played a little bit of Odyssey that was pretty good. I think the reason why Ubisoft is being so, like, cavalier about Assassin's Creed Valhalla, from the ability, their connection with Xbox, I think what they're betting on is, one, Cyberpunk is well known in the gaming community.
Right.
And so Ubisoft can just outspin it like a GTA. It's a well-known property, so the more casual consumers, they're obviously going to go for Assassin's Creed. And two, I'm pretty sure just from how they're aligning it with Xbox so much, I think Assassin's Creed Valhalla probably has Xbox exclusivity in that it's probably going to be, at least I think it might be the packing game for the new Xbox.
That wouldn't surprise me either, but I could not see...
That's if Halo's not out in time.
I couldn't see Assassin's Creed being a Xbox exclusive just because the PS5 is going to be so big.
Well, not exclusive in that way. I mean, exclusive in that it's going to be the packing game for the new Xbox. And if it's the packing game for the new Xbox, it doesn't matter if its launch is going to be bad.
Right.
Because if it's a packing game, you get all the ones from the original console it launches on, and then everybody who buys an Xbox is going to get Assassin's Creed anyway.
Right.
And so then you don't have to worry about sales because you're the packing game.
No, for sure.
At least for the first 2 years till Halo comes in, and then you're going to have to worry about it. But by then it's going to be fine. But again, Odyssey sold really well, so we're going to have to see. And then they last announced Far Cry 6.
I mean, I'm here for it.
It's another Far Cry game.
Yeah.
What I think with Far Cry, honestly, with their last Far Cry, which was set in America, they probably could have said way more.
Yeah.
But I think with that story trailer, just watching it, they have a good opportunity to tell a really good story with Far Cry 6.
Right.
I think that's really going to be interesting.
Right. Oh, and lastly, is this the last one? Oh, no.
Oh, they also announced, they did a quick video on Rainbow Six, which was always good.
Yeah.
They didn't tell us anything about Rainbow Six Quarantine. Probably a better idea.
Yeah, no,
They're probably workshopping some names right now. Hyperscape, they launched Hyperscape. A lot of people have been liking Hyperscape.
Yeah, I've seen Hyperscape. It's cool. It's a cool game. I'll probably give it a spin eventually, but it's not like high on my priority list.
Yeah,
it's
and
a battle
only on
royale
PC right now.
And it's a battle royale game.
I don't really like battle royales, but I did like the aesthetic of Hyperscape.
Yeah,
I did like the art style. Sure, that was amazing. Sure. And the story behind it is amazing. And you know what? If these battle royale games would actually start getting stories, I'd be more happy about it.
Right.
And then they announced some of their mobile editions, which it's Ubisoft's mobile. Let's talk about their allegations. So in the past couple of weeks,
Ubisoft has been, not only have they been under fire,
but everybody's been under fire.
Well,
everybody's been hit.
Yeah.
Because we've had a lot of allegations in the past. I remember this time a few years ago, not this time, but a few years ago, Pokémon had a huge calling of predators in it. And so these past couple of weeks, streamers been hit hard. The Smash Bros community been absolutely decimated to the point to where people are like, Nintendo's probably happy they weren't associating themselves with those people.
Yeah,
and so
the fighting game community.
Yeah, so a lot of communities have been hit. And so Ubisoft got hit with a lot of allegations. And to their credit, they were like, hey, we're going to try and do something. Oh, well. But what was interesting was they fired a lot of people, which honestly, if I was Ubisoft, I would have made a bigger deal about that.
Yeah.
Especially when you have a thing on there, I would have just a hate video like, hey, we fired these people. And one of the people they fired was basically considered like the second CEO of the company.
Yeah.
Like a lot of Ubisoft employees said he could greenlight a game or cancel it in a matter of with just one decision. Yeah. And they thought he was untouchable.
Yeah. And that's not surprising just because a lot of this happened under his watch. Mm-hmm. So it's just like, it's good to see that not only are the lower tier staff getting but also the higher tier staff for allowing situations like that to happen under their watch and turning a blind eye to it.
Yeah, so shout outs to Ubisoft, but they definitely should have. A lot of people are upset that they didn't address it in the actual thing.
Right.
And I don't blame them for not doing it. If you're a company and you're like, hey, we're about to release games, starting it or ending it with, so we were having toxic culture. I get that.
Right.
I am interested to see how Ubisoft tries to change themselves, because just in the past few years, I know gamers in general don't like Ubisoft.
Yeah.
But when they say they're going to do something from the past few years, they actually tend to do it.
Yeah. They really do stand on their morals.
Like, they said, okay, we're going to take a break with Assassin's Creed and start something new.
Right.
Took 2 years off, and they came out with Origins and Odyssey. And a lot of people don't like it. A lot of people think it's too far away from what Assassin's Creed was. But they did what they said they were going to do.
No, for sure.
And then when Breakpoint failed, they said we're delaying our games, making them new. And again, with Watch Dogs Legion at least, we saw the change. Now, there are certain games I still want to see, like Gods and Monsters. I really would have wanted to see Gods and Monsters in this. Especially since part of Gods and Monsters leaked earlier this year. So I feel like that game is looking good, and I'm questioning why they're not showing it off. Because from what we've heard for Gods and Monsters, it looks good. It's a bit of a Legend of Zelda game.
Right.
It's like a smaller title for Ubisoft. It's not like it's a tentpole.
Right.
And all we've seen is a trailer, and I'm like,
yeah, where's the rest of it?
Like, you have this game. I know it's complete.
Yeah.
Why aren't you... You showed off Beyond Good and Evil 2, and that game's not coming out till Cyberpunk.
Right.
To the actual date of Cyberpunk. And yet, this smaller game, we can't even get, like, some gameplay.
Right.
Even if you change it in a week, I can't get something.
Right.
But, I am excited for Gods and Monsters. I'm hoping that comes out soon. Let's talk about toxicity in games again. So
yeah, Twitch has been.
Well, this leans into something else we're gonna have to talk about. But Twitch streamer Sweet Anity, I don't know how to pronounce her name.
Sweet Anita.
Anita reveals that she has a stalker who is there. I've watched several videos on this. They have done awful things. They have basically threatened her life several times. Mm-hmm. They know where she lives. I think they live nearby to her.
Right.
And she's a UK streamer. She reported it to the police, and they're not doing anything.
Yeah, this isn't really surprising just because stalker culture and women in general aren't believed when it comes to just like sexual assault, domestic abuse.
And this is something that is always in this. If you follow a lot of female people in the games industry,
women,
there's just millions, tons of stories about stuff like this.
Yeah, and it's just like and it's like when these women streamers come out and say, hey, I don't feel safe, and Twitch doesn't really do anything about it, it just goes on to prove how unprotected women are in these spaces, and that needs to change as well. Yeah, and the other thing this leads into, I don't know if you saw Gamer Girl was trending yesterday. No, I did not.
Because PlayStation quickly uploaded the trailer and then quickly took it down. I think what happened was they sent a trailer. They were like, okay, new game, put it up. And then they watched it and they're like, oh no.
Right.
It was a FMV game, which who's making FMV games in 2020?
Exactly.
It was a FMV game based on a streamer who was a woman, and you were playing as her moderator. Yeah. And it had this weird story of you, like, getting to know her and trying to protect her. It had real incel vibes to it. Yeah. And just watching it was just gross and just kind of creepy. Just the storyline of it. And again, FMV games, especially FMV games that are made nowadays, tend to have this. Especially with like things like Super Seducer and all that. And so it's kind of upsetting. And especially I feel like it's worse for like Twitch streamers, because with YouTubers, they can at least try to do something to, like, delete the comment or something. But with Twitch streamers, it's in your comment section. You have to address it as they're saying it. Right. And especially with Twitch streamers, because they're so, like, personality-based, especially. And available to strangers. There's just so much that happens to them. Right. And they receive so much hate. Like, you remember... I don't know if you remember that guy who was suing Twitch. He was suing Twitch because he said there was no way because he was following too many women on Twitch, and he was blaming Twitch on it, and he was saying that they were being too sexually suggestive.
Yeah,
and that happens
so
a lot with women streamers. Like Alinity gets a lot of hate and basically abuse because they're like, she's a woman, she hasn't been banned, and she did this, and this, but a guy got banned for this, and this, and I'm like, well, he obviously did bad stuff,
right?
And so it's very upsetting to see this part of the gaming community. And honestly, it's a big part of the reason why I don't interact with live streams. Like, I don't go to Twitch a lot of times, and I don't enjoy it all that much.
Right, I feel you there. But next up, just real quick, we're talking about Madden 21, and we're switching shifts from something depressing to something kind of less depressing. But if you've been following the Madden 21 spectacle or whatever, you already know. So of course the cover athlete is Patrick Mahomes, the reigning Super Bowl MVP, who also got the biggest deal in sports with $500,000, I think, over 10 years with the Kansas City Chiefs. He's a part of the 99 Club, so is Christian McCaffrey. Shout out to the fellow Coloradan. But one of the more two interesting things I want to talk about is Gronk being a 95 after not playing an entire year. And it's just super weird. If you know who Gronk is, he was the tight end for the New England Patriots, and he hasn't played football in about 2 years, but he's ranked, and he's playing with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he's ranked at a 95. And it's just hilarious to think, just because when you're ranked that high, you think you would be good. But he was good in his last season, but he was nowhere near the best tight end in the league. So for him to take a year off and then come back and be at such a high rating is pretty hilarious. And the second thing, formerly the Washington Redskins, which are now the Washington NFL football team because they don't have an official name yet. It was announced earlier today that Madden will not be giving them a name until a new name is reached, and they'll update the game like always, which isn't really surprising just because it's a generic team right now. So it's not very surprising, but Madden 21 comes out August 24th. Also, another thing I am excited about, I need to pre-order UFC 4. I am actually looking forward to that. I can't wait. Also, NBA 2K. Of course, that's coming out soon. My only issue with that is waiting for the draft and seeing where all these rookies go. And that's my only drawback because we don't know about them. And next up, here's Morgan with Meta with the Ghost of Tsushima first impression. So let me just preface this. So I was actually looking into Ghost of Tsushima, but didn't really sway me either way, so I just stood back about it. How do you like it?
So I was excited for Ghost of Tsushima since it was announced.
Right.
I thought it was very interesting, and so of course I closer to launch I was feeling a bit less on it, not because I saw anything I particularly didn't like, but just because I don't play a lot of action games. I think I might have played a bit of Saints Row this year, and other than that, the only action game I played was like Kingdom Hearts 3, which was like playing an action game and a card game at the same time. But you know what? Some good things happened. Right. I decided to pick it up. So far, I'm really enjoying it. Like, the story is very intense, and they were doing a good job of telling this story. It does have that sort of samurai camp, but it's a very mature story. Like, this story of like war and what's going on, you very much see it, and it's not. I remember there was this one mission. It wasn't even like a big mission. It was a side mission where you're going to save this man's family, and every mission has like a movie cover,
right?
And just the cinematography and like the way it was shown, and I won't describe it because it's very brutal. But I was just like, dang. That is crazy.
How do you feel about the missions? Do they seem kind of redundant, or are they like Spider-Man Find a Pigeon bad, or
the missions are one of the things about the missions. Part of it is they're very intense just because of the combat, which we'll get into later. but they do a good job of framing it with a story. I think the problem people always have with side quests is that they tend to be the same thing over and over again because, there's a limit to what you can do in a game. But with this game, you're doing the same thing. Like, you're going to the place, you're beating all the people up, and then you're finding some information. But just the story of why you're doing that is so good, you don't care.
Do you think that the gameplay loop will get boring after a while?
Not really.
Okay,
Not as much.
why not?
Not just because, one, the world is so amazing. Just exploring and seeing that world is really good. And two, just it doesn't seem like it is a big world. I remember I was looking at the map. I was trying to figure out things, and I'm in the first act. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do next. And I realized there's a zoom button. I zoom out. I was like, oh, this is the first part of three islands. That's crazy.
Right.
But I don't feel like it's going to be like 100-hour JRPG long, like Persona 5 Royal, where by the end of it, you're just so exhausted, you're like, I just want to end this.
Right. And just last thing, you talked about this the other day, the stealth missions. Are you a fan of those? Or?
I hate stealth so much.
Okay.
I remember one of the first missions in Horizon Zero Dawn, you had to, one of my favorite games, you had to stealth in and blow up some barrels just so that you can get to a certain cutscene to a fight. And I started out stealth, and then eventually I just got caught, and all I did was I kept dodge rolling around everybody and just shooting whenever I could till I activated that cutscene. And so for me, stealth is awful, and especially at the beginning, there's a few instant fail stealth modes, and it's just a chore. But the thing is, with Ghost of Tsushima, what I like is you don't have to, for a lot of the side quests, you don't have to do stealth. For the main quest, there are certain times where you're going to have to do stealth. But for the side quest, at least, there are multiple, you can just go in as a samurai and be like, you know what? I'm just going to bang my head against this wall until I win.
Okay.
And the stealth seems okay and manageable. They give you the basic tools to do the stealth. But I'm also still at the beginning of the game, so I don't have as many stealth tools at my hands. I can't sneak around all that well. But overall, I like it.
Okay, so how many hours in are you right now?
Oh my god, probably 5 to 6 hours.
So what would you give it out of 10 right now?
Good 8.
Okay.
Good 8.
Okay.
I want to see where a lot of these stories go with the characters as far as that goes, because they're pretty compelling. But yeah, good 8. I'm interested to see where the story goes specifically.
Okay.
One thing I would like to talk about is whenever games like this come out, people talk about is this the next PlayStation franchise? What Horizon Zero Dawn was able to do. Mm-hmm. That game basically turned itself into now this is the premier PlayStation franchise.
Right.
Ghost of Tsushima, I think, has the potential with the mechanics it has, especially since Sucker Punch doesn't do the Infamous series anymore. My only question is, where do you actually go from here? Can you really do Ghost of Tsushima 2? Because it is so historically based. So I think what Sucker Punch might end up doing is this might be a one-and-done game. Or maybe some DLC, but I'm interested to see what they do next specifically.
Right.
And again, I don't know the ending of the game, so they might have an ending scheme, but I'm interested to see what they do next.
Okay, very cool.
Alright, so our next question. Where's the Nintendo Direct?
I'm gonna be 100. I don't care about a Nintendo Direct just because I don't think Nintendo has anything clever or innovative up their sleeve for the rest of their games coming out this year. They did Paper Mario, which is okay, but just because I don't think Nintendo has anything up their sleeves that will really excite me as a fan of the Switch, just because the Switch is a game. It is an incredible system, and so I think with the Switch they're banking on just relatability.
Yeah.
So they don't really have to do much. Well, and so that's a good thing and a bad thing, just because Nintendo doesn't have to put their best foot forward. And I feel like with the Nintendo Direct, it's not gonna be them putting their best foot forward. And we see examples of that with the numerous Pokemon Directs that they dropped over the past month. It really didn't like move. It wouldn't, like, just myself, it wouldn't move me. Like, as a person who literally played the first Game Boy to now, like, it didn't really move me in a direction to be like, okay, you know what? These Pokemon games are great, are dope, we're going to play them. And so I feel like Nintendo is just going to be banking on relatability and titles that the casual gamer are familiar with, which there is nothing wrong with that, but I just don't think they're going to be expanding their palette any soon, which is why I don't think they need to do a Nintendo Direct. And they said it was gonna happen, but it hasn't happened. So it's just like,
with Corona, things have been a bit up in the air.
Right.
What I will say to people are like, oh, this year has been bad. Like, this year, Nintendo dropped Tokyo Mirage Session FE Encore, which was Wii U port, but was pretty good. They dropped Animal Crossing, which was a phenomenon. They dropped Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition and Paper Mario. And those are all pretty good games for the retrospect of it. So they've been doing stuff. And again, I wouldn't say the Switch is getting into the end of its life cycle. It's only been like 3 years. And they even said that they're going to expand it. So I definitely think... And they still have a lot more in the pipeline. Like, they still got Breath of the Wild 2, which they announced a couple years ago. And there have been rumors that... Because I think this is Mario's 30th anniversary. And so there are rumors that Nintendo might just be dropping, like, all of the best Mario games onto the Switch. Like, Galaxies...
Right.
Sunshine,
and
64.
Again, that's just old games being regurgitated for the system, which is great, but that like doesn't really come off as innovative to me.
Nintendo's been the most innovative of all the companies these past few years.
Well, I'm saying with their games just regurgitating past generation games, that doesn't impress me.
Yeah, but they've released really good games so far, like Fire Emblem Three Houses, Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. Basically remade the entire open world genre. Right. I
give them credit where credit is due. But I just feel like,
for me, I honestly don't like. If I'm thinking about what I want Nintendo to be doing in these next few years, one, I want Bayonetta and we want the new Metroid, and two, I'd honestly be more excited if Nintendo was to go back and look at some of their other series. Like, I want a better Fossil Fighters game. I feel like, or at least a port of the other two Fossil Fighters games to the Nintendo Switch.
Right.
And so that's what I would want in general. But also, I think there's a lot of third-party games that I think Nintendo should probably be putting more resources and focusing on getting them to the market. Like, where is Shin Megami Tensei 5?
Exactly.
That was announced when the Switch
2 years ago. Like,
no, it was announced during the Switch reveal event. SMT 5, then Persona 5 became a phenomenon, amazing phenomenon. SMT is where Persona came from,
right?
And on top of that, it was the origins of the Monster Collection game, which people are upset at Pokemon doing. Like, all you need to do is drop SMT, a more mature Monster Collection game, on the Switch, put in a Joker mini battle and a few Persona references, and you have a phenomenon on there. And it's not like Atlas is doing anything else right now.
It's not. So,
like, Atlas is releasing Persona spinoffs. Like, where's my SMT game is my question for that.
Exactly.
But they also, it seems like, honestly, if we're looking towards the future, the big sell for the Switch during the holiday season is going to be the Pokemon DLC. And what Nintendo might be thinking to themselves is, we got Cyberpunk coming out, we got a new generation coming out.
Let's bank on what works for us.
Or they might just be being like, why don't we take a seat? They might be being like, Corona's out here, new generation's out here, Cyberpunk's out here. Why don't we release small games now and just bank on Animal Crossing, which is selling monstrosely, and actually, they really don't need to do anything.
I have a question for you. This is off topic. Do you think Animal Crossing is dead now?
No. The hype is not as much as it was at the beginning of Corona.
Okay.
But Animal Crossing fans are Animal Crossing fans, and they will play that to their dying day. And they have new updates coming out. There was a new update a couple weeks ago that added going into the water, which was a lot of fun.
Okay.
I had fun with that. And I think they have a new update coming in August.
Okay.
Yeah. But again, that's the thing with Animal Crossing is it has its core community, and that core community stays with them.
Right.
All right, let's go to our boss battle. So the Xbox event is coming soon. We're gonna see new gameplay of Halo, hopefully.
Right.
Hopefully, and hopefully I mean you better. And so we're not Xbox people, and so going into this next generation, Xbox has a lot going for them. They have the Xbox Game Pass, which is a great deal.
Right.
And they have a really powerful console. I think, but their first showings have not been that good.
Yeah, it's just like, what the way Microsoft is setting up Xbox to be, they're fighting, right now they're presenting as like an underdog mentality when it comes to the PlayStation.
Well, they kind of are.
Well, see, but here's the thing. If you are extremely confident in your product, in your content, and what you're delivering, you cannot come off timid. You cannot come off like, oh, we're over here. And that's what I feel where Xbox has been lacking with their past conferences. Just like when they introduced the Xbox One Series 1X, when they introduced some of their games, it's just like they're coming off like, oh, here's our games. We hope you like it. And then when it's just like when you're looking at like Sony and what they're doing with the PS5, it's like, no, we're here. This is what we're doing. This is what you want to play. And I feel like Xbox needs to take that mentality as well. It's just like they are coming off very like, oh, here's the gaming system, blah blah blah. We're here for you if you want. Like, you're here. And it's just like when you're coming into this next generation, you need to speak confidently about your product, about your content, about your service, and that's just not what Xbox is doing right now. They're being very they're saying like, oh yeah, we're gonna run the field, but it's like, okay, when you're putting out a bunch of games that will be on the PS5, when you're talking about your Xbox Game Pass, which should be a selling point, but you're not selling it the way you need to sell it. It's like, why would people be...
Xbox Game Pass is selling good.
Yeah.
Xbox is doing a lot of consumer-friendly things, which is very commendable. I don't know. They have this... So they're trying to get rid of generations as a whole. So
right.
At least for the first couple years, all the new games that are coming to Xbox are going to be on both the old generation and the new generation. Which, and they're saying, oh, we're not going to be held back, which maybe they won't be. You know, who knows?
Right.
What I will say, overall, the biggest problem Xbox has, it's the problem that they've always had, is the quality and amount of exclusives they have.
Yes.
Because they have a lot of good franchises.
They just don't utilize them.
They don't utilize it, and then when they do have exclusives, they tend to be a bit mid.
Right. So, let me ask you this question. On Thursday, what does Xbox need to do to really separate themselves from the competition?
Xbox has always been the gamer one.
Right.
So if I'm Xbox, I want to distance myself from that. Because their gamer one is good if you like shooters, but who's really lining up against a wall for another Gears of War game?
Right.
So if I'm Xbox, one, you got to do Halo. Halo, of course, is coming out, but Halo needs to look good. It's been enough time that people have sort of forgotten how much they actually didn't like the last Halo. So if this new Halo, they need to be good. And honestly, I'd say you want to show off you're bringing in new franchises. They have a lot of new staff. They have a lot of new studios. But, like, their new studios haven't been doing anything. Like, the last thing they released was the... what's their... Ninja Theory, I think is their name. They released Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. Really great game. Amazing game. They get under Xbox. What's the next thing they release? Bleeding Edge. What the heck happened? And I think a part of the problem is Xbox has a big focus on multiplayer for their exclusives, and it just makes things a bit not as good.
Right.
And so if I'm with Xbox, I'm saying, okay, first off, what is not Lionhead? What is everybody doing? So Doublehead Studios, they have Psychonauts 2. That's gonna be good.
Right.
Perfect Dark. Are we gonna release another Perfect Dark game? Make sure it's not Zero. I want a Fable game. If Xbox drops a Fable game, I'm going to pick that up. I'll probably pick it up on PC, but I'd at least consider getting the Xbox if they drop a Fable game.
Right, right.
And honestly, I'd say some new IP, maybe, or just like go into their.
I would say
drives.
a new exclusive IP.
Killer Instinct would be, if they brought back Killer Instinct, that'd be good.
Right, right.
That'd be good. But like, they just need. Again, my problem with this is, one, Xbox has the most powerful console out there right now. They were outsold by the Switch, which came out after them and is less powerful than their original console that launched.
Right.
That should never happen. That's an embarrassment. That is an embarrassment.
Yeah, because they're third behind the PS4.
They're behind. It goes PS4, Switch.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And then Xbox.
Yeah.
That's an embarrassment.
It is.
You're Microsoft and you're being outsold by a company that started selling playing cards.
Right.
That's not okay.
Right.
For me, if I'm an Xbox fan and I'm seeing that Switch is wiping the floor with Xbox, I get it if you're just talking Japan, which Xbox has been making moves to go to Japan. But you're being outsold by the Switch. What happened? You came out before them, you're 10 times more powerful than them, and you're being outsold by them.
And I just think a lot of it is the Switch's portability.
It's its portability and its exclusives.
Right.
The Switch came out with... Do you remember? You might have been paying attention. The Switch's launch lineup was Snipper Clips, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and Bomberman R.
Yeah. No, I do remember.
And Breath of the Wild was also on the Wii U. But Breath of the Wild was so good and innovative, it sold everybody on the Switch. Then they followed that up. Mario Kart 8, Splatoon 2. That's how you release a console right there. That first year, that first window was so amazing. And it ended with Super Mario Odyssey. Like, that's talking with your big boy voice.
Right.
And just this generation, Xbox exclusives come out, and nobody really cares about them anymore. They're not as good, and they're
not
either
as exciting.
They're either really bad or they're mid, and nobody cares.
Yeah.
So Xbox needs to stay in the conversation with their exclusive. Now, if that's purchasing exclusives, that might just need to be what they can do. Honestly, I think it's more of a matter of them getting better control over their studios. Yes. I think that's their big problem. Because, like, Sea of Thieves, that game has had an amazing resurgence. It's really good now, from what I hear. But on launch, it had almost no content.
Right.
But that game was being developed for, like, 4 years or so.
Right.
What were they doing the whole time?
Exactly.
So I need Xbox to start throwing down the gauntlet and looking at these studios saying, we paid a lot of money for you. We need you to show us what you got.
Right.
That's why Xbox needs. Especially when Xbox is on a mad dash towards service-based gaming. Because that's what Xbox is doing now. Is they're saying, okay, consoles and console exclusivity, that's going away. And so we just need people to interact with the Xbox brand. And so if you want me to interact with the Xbox brand, right now they're selling it on things like backwards compatibility and stuff like that. But going into this new generation, a few years in, that's not going to be as much of a selling point. Because right now, PS4 doesn't have a lot of backwards compatibility. We don't know what it's going to have next generation, but Sony eventually is going to come up with a solution for that, or people are going to stop caring. You're not going to keep selling people on Xbox Game Pass to play 4-year-old games.
Yes, exactly.
When the biggest selling point is, day one, all Xbox exclusives come to Game Pass. Day one, all Xbox exclusives are mid, so why do I care?
Exactly. Yep, that's their problem.
So that's what I'm looking forward to. I'm still excited for this, at least for Halo. Because I don't have a lot of experience with Halo, but I did play some of it. So I'm excited to see what the new Halo comes out. And what third-party games, because that's the one thing that Xbox has always been good at, is they're good at getting at least interesting third-party games.
For sure.
They're at least getting them to talk about interesting third-party games. And so I'm excited to see what they do with that. But, anything else, Marcus?
Nah, I think that's it. Once again, this is a Dust Off the Cartridge podcast, our gaming podcast. Once again, you can follow me on all social media platforms at Flow My Hero. Follow Meta at MetroMeta26. Follow the brand on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at 26 and Glencoe Media Network. And until next time, peace.
All right, everybody. Y'all know who it is, Metro Meta and
At one Marcus Flowers.
And we'd like to thank you for watching and listening to our content. We'd like to thank you even more if you, leave a like, a comment.
Subscribe. Definitely subscribe. We need that. Subscribe. Subscription.
Hey, don't forget to share with all your friends and tell us how you feel.
And tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend that you got it from 26 and Glencoe Media Network.
Keep it real.